Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings, airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. We broadcast this program to you from Ratchamakan University of Technology, Peranakan, and we will be broadcasting it to you in two parts. For the first part, I will introduce an artist and a song to you. We'll discuss a little bit about the artist, and then we'll discuss a little bit about the song, some of its background, but also its main themes, like what it's all about, what the song is about. Then we'll go ahead and listen to the song, and in the second part of our program, we will analyze the lyrics. The lyrics are the words to the song, and we will look especially at anything that may be difficult to understand, difficult vocabulary, slang, or idioms. All right, let's get to our program. Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for the Musical Musings program. I'm an American English teacher here at Ratchamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. I have been teaching here for a little over 8 years. As of the time we're taping this, it has been about a month or two, more than 8 years, so it's been quite a long time. And I do like to incorporate music into my classroom sometimes, because music tends to use some of the normal, ordinary language that we use every day. Sometimes in the textbooks, if you're teaching out of a book, it'll teach you grammar, vocabulary, things like that. Those are still good things to learn. You want to speak correctly, you need to learn grammar. So it's good to learn those things. But we should also learn how English is commonly spoken. That's the whole point of learning a language, is to be able to communicate with other people. So you want to speak like they speak. Okay, so it's natural that I am going to bring to you a program where we're talking about music. So for today's episode, we're going to be doing Over the Rainbow, sometimes referred to as Somewhere Over the Rainbow, by Judy Garland. Many people have sung this song over the years. It's a very old song. I believe it's the oldest song we've ever done on this program. And there's a sort of recent version. It's not that recent anymore. It's probably almost 20 years old now. But given how old this song is, that would be a recent version. There's a more recent version sung by a gentleman who is quite large, and he is from Hawaii, that people may actually be familiar with. It went viral, was very famous. If you go look it up on YouTube, in fact, if you search on Over the Rainbow, or Somewhere Over the Rainbow on YouTube, his is like the second or third that comes up. Judy Garland's version still comes up first. So we're going to do Judy Garland because she was the original performer of the song. She did not write it, and I'll explain why in a minute. I've said in multiple recent episodes that I usually like to do songs that are sung by the person who wrote it, but with Judy Garland, that's almost never the case because of what she did. Okay, so since this is one of the oldest songs we've done, Judy Garland is also going to be one of the oldest performers we've had on here. She's not the oldest. Our song last week that we did, it was a more recent song, quite a bit more recent, but the gentleman was already quite old when he did it. So he was born in 1900. That was Frank Gallup from last week's episode. Judy Garland was born in 1922 in Minnesota in the United States. She did not live to be that old, unfortunately, very sadly. She had a lot of troubles with her life, and she died in 1969. Although she did a lot of stuff that she was very successful at, she became a star. She's most famous for playing her role as Dorothy Gale in The Wizard of Oz. That was in 1939. So at the time, she would have only been about 17. Okay, so she's not a singer then? Well, and this is why she didn't write most of her songs. She did do a lot of singing, yes, but she was mostly in musicals, so she was very much more of an actress than a singer. Although, to say she's not a singer would be wrong. She had an album, which I was supposed to have in my notes here. Oh, I believe I have it at the end of my notes. She did have one album, in fact, that got to number 1 on Billboard for 13 weeks. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying she was not a singer. Judy Garland was definitely a singer. But her singing was often done while acting. She was in a lot of musicals. Okay? So she doesn't have a lot of songs that she wrote herself because of that. Because of the type of singing she did. One interesting thing is that she is also the mother of Liza Minnelli, who is also a singer, actress. I would say she's probably a little more towards the singing side. She's also quite famous. Probably a little less famous than Judy Garland, but not much. She's very famous. She actually is still alive. I don't remember what year she was born in, but I'm sure she's getting fairly old now, but she's still alive. And just an interesting cultural note about both of them, more so Liza Minnelli, just because of the time at which Judy Garland died in 1969. But both of these actresses are like icons within the gay community, at least in America. Why it is, I'm not really sure. I know they were both in favor of civil rights and things like that. So, I mean, they would be on the side of those folks, but there are a lot of people who are like that. So I don't know why. Maybe it's the song that we're doing today, or Somewhere Over the Rainbow. You know, the rainbow is kind of associated with gay pride and things like that. So I'm not sure exactly how that all came about. But again, the gay rights movement, things like that, was not really taking off at around the time that Judy Garland passed away. Actually, it did start before then, but yeah, barely. It was barely getting started. So Judy kind of became more like the figurehead after she was already gone. Liza Minnelli was more outspoken. In fact, there was one interview I saw with Liza Minnelli. I don't remember exactly what she said, but this was at a time when in Western culture, it was still not really okay to be gay. In some towns and cities, even in America, it still isn't, but it's generally accepted now. So this was back at a time where it wasn't accepted. And she made some statement. I don't even remember exactly what she said, but she was extremely strong in her words of support towards that community. And so it may just be that. It may have just been something that built over the years. They kind of liked her. She was for their causes because she's for civil rights, and then she's making more comments about them, so they like her even more. I'm not really sure. I don't know how they both became icons within the gay community, but they are. They are. Judy Garland and Liza Minnelli are both icons for gay people. All right, so this song, it is called Somewhere Over the Rainbow, also sometimes shortened to just be called Over the Rainbow, and it came out in 1939. Makes sense. I told you that Judy Garland played Dorothy Gale in Wizard of Oz in 1939. What else did I tell you about Judy Garland? Most of her songs come from musicals that she's performing. The Wizard of Oz is a movie. Many of you may have heard of the movie Wicked. I've never seen it. I don't know how it plays off of The Wizard of Oz. I think it acts like a sequel or something. I'm not sure. But that's what it's related to. That's the movie Wizard of Oz. If you've seen Wicked, that's where it comes from. It comes from the Wizard of Oz. So it's a very famous movie. One of the first movies. I don't think it was the first, but it was one of the first movies to come out in color. And it was really neat because the beginning and the end of the movie were not in color. And it was also really neat because you would expect 1939, color's not going to be that great. The color was actually pretty spectacular. It's a beautiful film. I recommend watching it if you haven't seen it. Okay, so that's where this song comes from. It comes from that movie. It was written specifically for the movie. And it is the song is about finding a place where there isn't any trouble. Now, the song kind of doesn't make any sense in a way, sort of, because she goes to this place, which is called Oz. That's the name of the movie, Wizard of Oz. And she sure has a lot of trouble with the Wicked Witch. So it's not a land with no trouble. Now, it does kind of make sense when you see the end of the movie and the lesson she's learned is basically that she just doesn't need to go over the rainbow to find a place that's without trouble. The reason I say the song kind of doesn't make sense is because it does sound like a perfect place. So, and that's not how it all pans out. And her home, which is where she wants to go back to at the end, isn't perfect either. So this song is really nice, sweet song, and then at the end, end of the movie, they're basically saying this doesn't even exist, which is kind of a little depressing, right? All right. So that's what the song is about. It's about finding a perfect place with no troubles. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the song. Those of you joining us on YouTube, obviously we cannot embed the video. I believe the video link I've included for our producer is the one from the movie, but it may not be. If you want to see the one from the movie, you can look that up. I had two choices. I don't remember which one I picked. But we cannot embed that video here. So we will give you the link in the upper right corner. Please click on the link. And then once the song's over, you can click back here to see the second part of our program. Everyone else on radio or streaming, you should be able to listen just fine. All right, so let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
All right, welcome back. So that was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, sung by Judy Garland. Again, many people sing it. She was the first one in the movie The Wizard of Oz. And it's a song about finding a perfect place. Now, this song is actually pretty easy to understand. We don't have to explain a lot here. The reason I decided to include this song in our program, there were a few words that you may not know. There are a few concepts, kind of ideas, that might be more common to Western culture that you also may not know. And it's just a good song. And we haven't done a really old song like that. And this one's actually still popular today. Like I said, there was that gentleman from Hawaii who recorded a version of it maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it became extremely popular. So this song is still well known today, at least in the West. Maybe most of you have not heard it. I don't know. But in Western culture, everyone knows this song. In fact, that movie is shown on TV every year still. Every year. Movie from 1939. So that's, 86 years old? Almost a 90-year-old movie, and it's on TV every year. Okay, so let's get to the lyrics here. So we start out with just the name of the song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, Way Up High, There's a Land That I Heard of Once in a Lullaby. Okay. So, first of all, you know this is just kind of a dream, an imagination. You really can't go over a rainbow if you know the science of how a rainbow forms. You can't get to a rainbow. You can't go there. So you can't go over it either. You could, depending on the angle, I guess you could kind of almost do it, but you're gonna not be able to see it at some point. It's gonna disappear. You certainly can't go to the other side of it because of how it works. So we're just talking about a dream, basically. It's an imaginary place, somewhere over the rainbow. It's an imaginary place, way up high. Now, this concept of way up high, we're going to hear it several more times here. Above the chimney tops, they say later, where bluebirds fly, things like that. This concept of being up in the air, it kind of removes you from the troubles, You're not dealing with anyone on Earth. This was before we really had much in the way of any planes. There weren't a lot of planes flying around in 1939. I didn't look up when the plane was invented. It was before that. Obviously, there were a lot of planes during World War II fighting, and World War II was starting then. So there are plenty of planes around, but not like a lot of commercial planes flying around the skies. So the sky is wide open. And so what would people normally think of as being in the sky? Maybe angels or God, heaven. So it's a perfect place up there. Wonderful place. So this concept of floating up around in the sky, it's peaceful. It's a nice place. So that's kind of the concept there in Western culture. I would say that concept probably doesn't even exist as much anymore, just because of some of the changes. For example, people are less religious than they used to be, so the idea of heaven, God, angels, a lot of people still believe it, but fewer people now. Also, there are a lot of planes flying around up there, things like that. Drones now, whatever. Not really a peaceful place. So we're talking about finding someplace peaceful, and maybe even in a religious way. Okay, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. A lullaby is a song that usually like a parent would sing to a child at night to get them to fall asleep. It's a song you would listen to at night to help you fall asleep, especially a child. So again, this is a happy place, a dream place, a perfect place. Okay? Second verse, somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Okay, so there's not much there to understand, except this idea of daring to dream. The dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Some people are really afraid to kind of embrace their dreams, so they just don't even think about it. So they don't dream about it, even though it's their dream, because they just know it's not realistic. Like if you wanted to be a billionaire. Well, that's kind of hard to do. Millionaire? Even that's hard, but maybe. Of course, I'm thinking in US dollars. In Thai baht, that's a little easier to do because the value is different. But to become a billionaire, that's still hard, even in Thai baht. So what we're saying here is for those people that do actually dare to pursue their dreams, to dream their dreams, here in this land over the rainbow, those dreams really do come true. Okay? Now we get what's called the bridge. We don't really have a chorus here, you'll notice. So the bridge is, someday I'll wish upon a star. Okay, that's another Western concept. Wishing on a star. You see like the brightest star in the sky, you close your eyes, you make a wish, and you hope that it comes true. That's wishing upon a star. It's a weird thing. I'm not really sure where it comes from. I'm not really sure what the history of wishing on a star comes from. But this is not the only like movie, TV show that talks about wishing on a star. Disney used to use it in their introduction. When you wish upon a star, they would have the same thing. So it's just making a wish, hoping for something. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. So she's going to make that wish on the star, and it's going to come true. She's going to wake up in a better place, where troubles melt like lemon drops. A lemon drop is like a type of candy, and if you put it in your mouth and suck on it, it will melt. Away above the chimney tops. Chimney? Not a very difficult English word, but some of you may not know what it is because we don't burn a lot of things here indoors. Like if you have a fireplace, that's where the smoke goes up. Most people don't have those here in Thailand because it's a hot country. But some factories need to do stuff and they have a big chimney stack, a big smoke stack, which is a chimney. So that's where a chimney is. So you're talking about being above the houses again. So where troubles melt like lemon drops. So in other words, they go away. No more troubles. Away above the chimney tops. So again, above where all the people are. No troubles. That's where you'll find me. Okay. Then we get to the third verse. And each of the verses does start out with somewhere over the rainbow. So it sounds like it's the chorus. It's not really considered the chorus because the whole rest of it changes. So somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. I mentioned that earlier. We're going to talk about the birds flying. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh, why can't I? I don't really think birds would fly over the rainbow either. Rainbow's really high. But from your perspective, they could. If the bird is a lot closer to you, it could look like it's over the rainbow, I guess. It's just a song. It's just a song. We're talking about a nice place where there's no troubles. It's just our imagination. So birds fly over the rainbow. Why? Then, oh, why can't I? So she's saying she wants to fly over the rainbow. And then we have the little, what's called an outro. If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I? Again, nothing really difficult to understand there. All she's saying, if bluebirds can fly beyond the rainbow, and she means above it, really, over it. If bluebirds can fly there, why can't I? So she's really wants this dream to come true. All right, and that is really the end of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Pretty simple song. There wasn't a lot for me to explain to you there. I just wanted to do the song because it's a good song. We haven't done a really old song. It's the background of it is pretty interesting. Comes out of a movie. Even though it's the oldest song we've done, it's probably one of the ones that's still most popular today, which is also a little bit interesting. So that's Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Judy Garland. Now, as far as Judy Garland is concerned, it's very interesting because I don't have a lot of other songs to refer you to. And yet, I told you she came out with an album, basically with just her name. It's just called Judy, is the name of the album, which was #1 on the Billboard chart for 13 weeks. And I'm telling you, she has no other famous songs. Again, she didn't write most of her songs. Most of them came from musicals. So people loved her singing. They loved the songs, but they're coming out of movies. They're coming out of Broadway performances. They didn't get the same level of radio play that someone who's singing just to sing would get. So it's not that there's never been songs that come from a TV show or a movie that have become popular. We just did one a few weeks ago from the television program Cheers, which made the Billboard charts. That was the theme song to that TV show. So it's not like that's never happened, can't happen, but it's not very common. It's not very common for a song to come out of a movie or a television program and make the Billboard charts. And a lot of times when they do, I say a lot of times, it doesn't even happen a lot of times, but of the times that they do, many of those times it's actually intentional. They made the movie for the song, they made the song for the movie, but a lot of times it would be the movie's theme song or something like that, or the most dramatic part of the movie. So they're intending for that song to get popular. It will be a very famous band or artist doing the song, and they're intending for that to happen. Back then, 1939, they're doing this stuff. Most of the time she was doing her music. That's not what they're trying to do. So it's very interesting. She doesn't have a lot of songs that you can say, oh, well, you got to listen to this song by her. You got to listen to that song by her. But when she put a whole package together of all these different songs that she does, and she sold that as an album, the whole album did extremely well. So if you like this song, I guess my best recommendation is to just go on YouTube, search her name, and just listen to different songs by her. Again, her name is Judy Garland. First name Judy, Judy. Last name Garland, Garland, Judy Garland. So again, there's not really any one or two songs I can point you to, but just go check her out if you like this song. She's a beautiful singer. She was very famous. Even though she passed away fairly young, she was 47, she still became a big star. And from a very young age, this movie made her a star. And in fact, it wasn't even her first movie. One of her first, but it wasn't even her first movie. So she was a big star for almost her whole life. Her whole adult life, at least, from this movie onward. And she was 17 when she made this movie. Okay, so that's it for Judy Garland and Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Thank you for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. I encourage any young people out there who are listening to this program to check out our university, Ratchamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. Also, please stay with us and tune back in next week for another great song. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical musings, musical musings.